Today we will see how to read a CSV file using Python's Pandas package, especially with its read CSV command, as well as we will see that what are the different parameters or different options available in this read CSV command. For that, first you need to import Pandas package. So over here I have imported Pandas package with this PD alias name. Before we proceed, make sure that the Pandas version that you are using is 1.5.1 because the options that I'm going to show today are related to this specific version only. If your Pandas version is not similar to the version that I'm showing on the screen, like this version 1.5.1, in that case those options may or may not be available and their functionality can be varied. You can check this Pandas version using this pip show pandas command. To read any CSV file, the standard command in Pandas is this read CSV and then provide the file name. Now this file path can be absolute, it can be relative, or it can be an URL as well. So any of the way you can read the CSV file, and then using this .head n equal to 3, I am just displaying first 3 rows of this data frame. With this read underscore CSV command, it is not compulsory to have comma as the separator in the file. You can use any another separator as well. Then in that case you can use this delimiter option or this separator option to read that file having another separator. In these options you need to provide that separator through which this read CSV will separate the column. So over here this particular file is pipe separated, so I have provided this delimiter equal to pipe symbol. Now in case you have a file in which you want to consider another row as the header, for example you want to consider your first row, third row, or any another row as the header of the data frame. In that case you can use this option header and then you need to provide the integer value of that particular row. So over here header equal to 0, it means consider the first row as the header. Over here header equal to 3 means consider the third row as the header, and from that third row data reading will be start. Same way, if you provide over here header equal to 10, then first 9 rows will be ignored, 10th row will be considered as your header, and then 10th row onwards data reading will start. In case if you want to provide multiple rows as your header, in that case you can provide header equal to list of this row numbers. So over here 0 and first row will be considered as your header. Next is in case if you want to provide header names explicitly, so in this names option you need to provide list of these column names which will be similar to your column numbers. So you can see over here that these column names has been changed from this default column names or default headers to this provided one. Over here you will note that in this particular command we have got this class and other default headers as the first row. Now if you want to ignore this particular row, in that case you can use this option header equal to 0 with this names parameter. So what will happen over here, that your header, which will be by default as the first row of the data frame, will be replaced with the provided names. Next is if you want to read specific columns only, in that case you can use calls parameter. In this you need to provide either column position like first, second, third likewise, or you can provide column names, or you can provide any callable function, something like this. Next is in case if you want to read only one column and convert it into the Pandas series type instead of Pandas data frame type, you can use any of the two options. So first option is using .squeeze with this use calls option, in which you will provide either column name or column location and then .squeeze. So using this option you will be able to convert single column of Pandas data frame to this Pandas series type. Another option is first you need to read the entire file and then you need to subset the column that you want to utilize. Let's say in my case it's the class column, and in that way as well you will be able to read that particular column as the Pandas series type. And in case you are not using any of the above two methods, and if you are just simply going with reading only single column, either using these use calls or subsetting option, in that case that particular single column will be type of data frame. Next is providing column data types. So sometimes it may help you to fasten the reading operation. Whenever you are reading any file and you know that what are the columns in that file, and if you know that types of those columns, you can use this dtype parameter and provide all those column types, which will be easier for Pandas to parse and read the file. So over here, this dtype parameter will have dictionary input where the key will be column name and this string, int are the data types of those columns. In read_csv command, you have 3 different engines: C, Python and PyArrow. Using any of the engine, you can parse the file and read that particular file. So as per the documentation, C and PyArrow are faster and Python engine is more feature rich. So you need to use this engine parameter and provide the name of the engine that you want to utilize while reading that particular data. Whenever you are reading any data frame and if you want to convert any of the column values into another specific values, at that time you can use this option converters. Again, this converters option will have dictionary input where either you need to provide column name or column location, and then you need to provide a callable function. So over here in this age column, I am converting the values to the smaller case, and for this third column, if the value contains no, then it will be transferred to 1, and if the value contains yes, then it will be transferred to 2. So using these converters, you can change the values of any column. While reading the data frame, if you want to consider specific values as true or false, then you need to use these options true values and false values. It is not required to use these options together. So over here, whenever it finds the value as yes, it will convert to true, and whenever it finds the value no, it will convert it to false. So you can see that in survived, wherever it was yes, it has been converted to true, and wherever it was no, it has been converted to false. In case your column contains leading white space, not the trailing one, but the leading white space, and if you want to remove that leading white space, in that case you can utilize this option skip initial space equal to true. Over here, this child contains the initial white space, and using this option skip initial space equal to true, I am able to remove those white spaces. If you want specific rows to be skipped while reading the data, then you can use this parameter skip rows. The interpretation will be different. Let's say if you are providing single integer, then read CSV command will skip all the rows till that particular number. For example, skip rows equal to 1, it means it will skip first row and then it will start to read the data from that particular row. So you can see over here that second number row has become my header, and whatever the rows after that second number has become my data. If you provide list in this skip rows parameter, in that case those specific number of rows will be ignored. You can use callable function as well with this skip rows parameter, something like this. Now instead of header, if you want to skip rows from footer, means from bottom of the data, you can use this command skip footer. Again, it does not have options similar to skip rows, but yeah, whatever the integer you are going to provide over here, like 5, so it will skip bottom 5 rows. With this n rows, you can read specific number of rows like first 5, 10, 20, 50 number of rows. When reading the data frame, if you want to consider specific values as NA values, you can use this option NA values. Over here, NA values can have a single value like this. It can have list of values, something like this, or it can have dictionary input in which key will be column name and its value as the value of the key. So over here, we are considering child as NA value. So in this age, you can see that child has been converted to NaN. Over here, we have considered child and male to NA values. So over here, you can see that male and child has been converted to NaN. Same way over here, we have considered first value of class column and no value of survived column as NaN. And you can see wherever first has occurred, it has been converted to NaN. Same way, wherever no has occurred, it has been converted to NaN. How to treat default NaN values? So these are the default NaN values defined in this read CSV function. So over here, this NaN over here, it is the default one from the data frame itself. So when I was reading the data, this particular value was blank. There was nothing at this place, and hence it is the default NaN value. Second thing is, over here we are using NA value is equal to child. It means that wherever the child option is there, wherever the child value is there, it will convert it into NaN values. Now the question will be, why this child has not been converted to NaN? The reason being, it contains leading white spaces and hence they have not been converted to NaN. So in the next command, we have used this option NA value is equal to child, keep default NA equal to false, and skip initial space equal to true. So what it will do is, skip initial space equal to true will remove the leading white space, then keep default NA. So the default NA values, I don't want to retain it, so it will be blank. It won't show NaN over here. And NA values equal to child will convert child value to NaN. So over here you can see that due to leading white space, it was child. But once we have used this option, skip initial space equal to true, that leading space has been removed and now it has become NaN. This will happen using these three parameters. In case this command is same as this command, just the change is keep default NA equal to true. In that case, it will show that NaN value which earlier was not being shown. Now this NA underscore filter is same as this keep default NA. So if you say NA filter equal to false, it won't show that NaN values. And if you say NA filter equal to true, it will show that NaN value. Also, as per the documentation, in data without any NAs, means if you know that in your data there is no NA values, if you use this filter NA filter equal to false, it can improve the performance of reading a large file. In case your data frame contain a row or few rows which are blank, means it does not contain anything, and you want to skip those rows, you can use this option skip blank lines. By default in this read CSV command, this parameter will be true, so you don't need to use it explicitly. So over here if you see, when I had read this data having a row completely blank, it has ignored that particular row. But when I had used this parameters keep blank lines equal to false, it has included that blank row, replacing those blanks with NaN. In case you have any compressed file like .tar, .zip file, .zz file, in that case you can use this compression parameter and you can read that particular file. So in my case, the file has .tar extension, so it has been compressed in .tar. So I have used this compression equal to tar parameter to read that particular file. So it is the decompressing the compressed file. Next portion is about dates. So over here I will advise that use these options with caution, because sometimes it happens that the required format of the date will not be ensured. Why? So let's see that. Over here I have these two columns, dates 1 and dates 2. Dates 1 column contains only one date, that is the 10th November 2022, and dates 2 contains the incremental dates from 10th November onwards. Now also, like this dates 1 and dates 2 are the type of object. So when I had used this parameter parse dates equal to, I had provided this particular column names, dates 1 and dates 2. So in that case, this dates 1 and dates 2 column has been converted to date time format, as well as this dates has been converted to ISO dates format. Now over here if you see in dates 1 column, as I have mentioned, all the dates are same, 10th November 2022, but over here you can see that this particular 2 dates has been converted to 11th October. So that's why I'm saying that whenever you are using this particular parameter, be cautious. So let's say you have these columns like year, month and day, and if you want to combine these 3 columns into one column, you can use this parse dates over here, and then you need to provide dictionary input where date is the column that you want to create using combination of this year, month, day columns. Then you need to provide them in the list. So combining these 3 columns, year, month and day, we will create a single column called date. So you can see that we have converted these 3 columns, year, month and day, into single column date having this ISO format dates. Now over here you can see that year, month and day column has been removed. So if you want to retain those columns as well, just provide that keep date call equal to true option. In that case you will get new column as well as you will get the source column as well. You can read file in chunks as well. It will be helpful when you are reading the large files. In that case, you have two options. First option is chunk size, and then you need to provide an integer. So based on that integer, read CSV command will read those files in those chunks. For example, I have given 10. So it will read that entire file into the chunk of 10. So this is the first 10 rows, then second 10 rows, then third 10 rows, and then the remaining rows. Okay. So it will be the iterator object. You can see that it is the text file reader. So it is the iterator object which you can iterate using this kind of the least comprehension method. Another option to read file in chunks is iterator equal to true. So over here you don't need to provide chunk size, you just need to mention that iterator equal to true, and then using this .getChunk method you can read that file in the chunks. So you can get the output in those number of chunks. So then you need to provide that integer over here in this getChunk method. Let's say over here this getChunk 10, so this is the first 10 rows, then getChunk 5 means next 5 rows. In your data frame, if you have any column which contains quoted strings, something like this. So in my data frame, this text column has quoted values like hi9 has been quoted by pipe. So if you want to read, if you want to mention that starting and ending of this quoted item, you can use this command quote char, and then you need to provide that symbol over there. So over here, my values are quoted by pipe. So I will provide this pipe symbol over here, and then if I read using this quote char parameter, output will be similar to this. One thing that I would like to mention over here, that if you have comma separated file in which comma will be the separated one, and your quoted values, like whatever the quote symbol you are using, but if your quoted values contains that comma separator, in that case this quote char will not work. In case if your quoted values contain that comma, and if you are trying to read that particular file, you won't be able to read that file. It will result in an error. But yes, if your column separator is different, for example, in this example, the separator is semicolon, and if that semicolon means another separator apart from comma is there in the values, you will be able to use this quote char parameter. So over here you can see that quote char is pipe and separator is semicolon. So using that, I am able to read the file successfully. And over here, even though this semicolon separator is there in this value, it has been ignored. Let's say in your column you have values something like this, and if you want to escape this slash over here from this particular column, in that case you can use this parameter escape char, and over here this is the double slash. So the reason to use this double slash is because this is the regular expression. If it was not slash but if it was any another single character, in that case we might have used that single character only, but as it is the slash which is being heavily used in regular expression, and hence we need to use this two slashes over here. So what we have done is, using these two slashes, we have ignored this slash, single slash from this column values. Becomes something like this. That's it for the day. Thank you for watching this video.